love the $5 paint club. I love the $5 paint club. They will teach me how to paint all my projects. Show me how to paint furniture with a new mindset. I love the $5 paint club.
Hi there, welcome back to part 2 of the Furniture Refinishing 101 or Furniture Painting 101 class. Let's talk about brushes. Your paintbrush is going to make all the difference, but here's the thing, paintbrushes are expensive, and they're definitely expensive when you don't take care of them. My go-to brush are Klingon brushes. They are very expensive. They are a one-person paintbrush. I'll kind of show you here. You can see, obviously I'm right-handed, so you can kind of see my brushes are trained to how I paint. So these are not brushes that my mom would go and use. Mom knows that these brushes are off limits to her because these are my brushes. But Klingons come in all different shapes and sizes depending on what kind of project you have. The size of them is on the side. So when I'm doing tutorials, I may say, hey, I'm using a Klingon R16, just so a sort of reference. But these are going to be generally my go-to brushes. What I love about Klingons is that when I'm painting a lot of projects, I'll just basically keep them in water. And then that way they're ready to use when I need to. I just came back from a trip a couple weeks ago, so I have let them, I got them all cleaned up and let them dry out, so they're ready to go again. My next go-to brush that I love using are zipper brushes. These things are absolutely fantastic. You can get them at Lowe's, but I did hear that Lowe's was going to stop carrying them. So definitely on Amazon has them. Their brushes are really unique. The angles on them, these are fantastic brushes. I actually use this one for powders, for gilding powders. These are great brushes to get in the spindles of chairs. They're super soft. They're synthetic brush, just like the Klingon. The Klingon is a synthetic brush as well. So here you can see synthetic kind of nylon bristle brushes, but these are great brushes, and these run about maybe around $10 a piece versus $30 to $40 a piece. So big difference, but Zipper doesn't make the nice big round brushes that you'll see me use quite a bit. So I think they'll eventually get there. They're just not there yet with them. If you're really just starting out and you don't want to spend a lot of money on brushes, these are called chip brushes. These are actually like dollar store brushes here. They're nice brushes. You kind of have to be careful with the shedding when you're painting, but these are just some nice chip brushes that will do the job too. You're gonna have to work a little bit harder, but there's nothing wrong with that. They will end up with the same result as, you know, a zipper brush or the Klingon brushes. The next type of brush is a natural bristle brush. Now, if you're using chalk paints, acrylic-based paints, latex paints, latex is a household paint which does not contain latex. It is acrylic-based paint. You do not want to use a natural bristle brush. So that is a no-no. Those types of paints are specifically designed for synthetic. So any of your household water-based paints will be synthetic brushes. Any oil-based stains, paints, or waxes are for natural bristle brushes. I hate cleaning brushes when I stain. I will buy these 50-cent paint brushes on Amazon, at Home Depot, dollar store, wherever I can find them. I use them once and I throw them away. I hate cleaning the brushes. The smell of the paint thinner to get all the oil out of them, it's just not worth it. So these brushes here are great for staining. A fantastic little cheapy brush. I actually use these for, like, if I'm doing the gilding papers, the foils, stampings, anything like that is what I actually use these little things for, the fun little brushes. And then for my waxes, I will, for the most part, always be using a round a large round natural bristle brush for my waxes. I'm big on waxing. I can't wait to show you guys how to wax because that is really, I love waxing. So, and that's furniture, that is. Anyways, but yeah, these are great brushes. So natural bristle brushes go with oil-based products. Synthetic brushes go with water-based products. So it's really, really important to keep in mind. Again, with oil-based products, you're gonna need a paint thinner, mineral spirits or whatnot to clean the brush, or buy a cheap one and throw it away. With water-based paints, I actually use fabric softener, 1 part fabric softener to 1 part water, and that's what I'll keep my brush standing in. It's how I keep them very soft for use. So my Klingons here are very soft. So that's what I use for those brushes. I clean them with Dawn dish soap, let the paint run on them, and then I will do the downy or the fabric, whatever fabric softener you want, doesn't matter. And then I'll just put it in like a little container of the fabric softener in the water, and I'll let the brushes sit in them. So that is it on brushes. So it's really important that you find a brush that works for you. I happen to love my round Klingons. I happen to love the zipper brushes for getting into those tight, awkward spaces. Like for the instance, this cabinet, you can see how that'll be amazing to do that. So know the project that you're working on and have lots of options available to you. We're gonna move on real quick I'm gonna talk a little bit about stains. There's 2 different types of stains out there. There's oil-based and there's water-based. You really have to know the project well enough to know what you should be using it on. Raw woods that are unfinished, I would prefer to use an oil-based stain on those. I usually, if I have a natural piece of furniture that has never, it's like a virgin piece of furniture, the only place you can really find that is IKEA. I will actually do an oil-based stain and then paint over it. You can get some really cool techniques that way. And we actually have a video coming up on that. Wink, wink. So you'll have to stay tuned for that. But oil-based stains they work really well with chalk-based paints. Chalk-based paints are porous, and you can think you have the oil-based stain, and the chalk will kind of pull the stain through to the paint. And it's a really cool technique. But like if you were to do a piece, let's just pretend for a moment that this piece was gonna be stained. You could use an oil-based or water-based stain for this. It's not really gonna matter. They do work about the same way. Oil-based is much more permanent, much more porous, much more durable than water-based. I kind of struggle sometimes with water-based stains. It's a personal thing. I don't feel like they absorb into the wood. I feel like they coat the wood more than they absorb into the wood. I'm also a big fan of gel stains. I like using the gel. I was actually thinking that inside here I would use a gel based stain on the inside of the cabinet here because it doesn't have a finish on it. So gel based stains are great because they're not runny and drippy like a normal stain would be. So there's not really a matter of water-based stains are great for using indoors. They have usually they still have VOCs in them, but usually it's a pretty low VOC. They dry very quickly. They're great for signs because you can get the vinyl to stick. When you're making signs and you're using an oil-based stain, a lot of times you put the vinyl down and it pulls the oil up and you won't get a good adhesion to the board, so that's where a water-based stain would be better for something like that. As you can see, I'm a big fan of Oops paints at Home Depot or Lowe's. Most of my paints are Oops paints. So don't forget to check for stains when you're at your Lowe's or Home Depot and find Oops cans. These were tinted. It's a nice little mocha color. I don't care, I'll use it at some point. I don't really have a preference of a brand. Varathane has a product out there, a water-based product that I use a lot for signage, good stuff. Obviously the Menwax says there's a ton of stains on the market. So use what works for you. If you need a product that's no VOC, that's water-based, there's some fantastic products out there that can achieve those results. When it comes to sealing, oil-based stains, technically, you could seal them or not seal them. Oil-based stains are ideal for wax finishes. Now, water-based stains, for the most part, have to be sealed. There are some exceptions to that with different products that are out in the market. They have sealers built into them. But then if on the flip side, there are some water stains out there that have to be sealed with an oil-based product, like a polyurethane. They can't be sealed with a water-based product. So just kind of know that the product that you're working with, and if you're new at staining, stick to the basics. I would just buy small cans at Home Depot or Lowe's, find what works for you, what you have the best results with, and then start to branch out from there, because these are going to be much cheaper than some of the other products on the market. So these are great products to start with, to screw things up with, than spending $20 or $30 from some stain and you don't know how to use it and it's a disaster. So stick to the basics. We will do a tutorial later on how to stain, so no worries. Okay, now that we've talked about brushes, stains, we're gonna move into paints and talk a little bit about paints. One of the biggest questions I try to, as we go along in this 101 tutorial, I want to answer some questions that I get quite a bit. I would say probably the number one question out there's a lot of number one questions, but the number one question about paint is what kind of paint to use and why you use chalk paints. I'm a big fan of chalk paints myself. I love the feeling of them, the texture of them. One of the advantages of using chalk paints over a regular acrylic or latex paint, household paint, is the flexibility of the paint. When we are painting furniture, it's important to have paint that adheres to the surface, paint that can easily be distressed, paint that's durable, and also paint that can handle a wax or a sealer depending on what your preference is. So chalk paints, mineral paints, they accomplish all of that. There is so many different paints, a lot of great paints on the market. We're pretty paint neutral here. I pick paints based on color, more so first color than budget, obviously. I'm big on making my own paints. That's no secret to anybody that follows me. I love colors, so I'm going to, if I see a color of a premixed paint out there, I'm going to pick it up. I don't really care who the maker of the paint is. Some paints out there, you know, Dixie Belle is really hot on the market right now. CC Caldwell, great paint. To me, CC Caldwell is a true mineral-based paint. It's very, very thick, a little bit of a learning curve to it when you're learning how to use it. But it's a fantastic paint. I use Sherwin-Williams quite a bit, mixed with Pixie Dust. So if you get on YouTube, you can find my other side company, which is Pixie Dust Paint Company. You can find tutorials on how to make your own chalk paint there. We will not be doing a tutorial in this 101 on how to do that. And then obviously with making your own chalk paints, you have a lot more colors available to you. Typically when I make paint or I'm looking for paint, I will have my little color wheel around here somewhere. I will actually just get, you know, we'll go, okay, yes, I want this color, that color. It also helps me, these color wheels, if you can get one, or these color fans from any of the paint companies are also great in helping you figure out ombre techniques and what colors go with what. At some point I'll be doing a tutorial on picking colors. It's pretty extensive when you get into color wheels and what families and whatnot. So that's not for today, that's for another day. But for this particular piece, I've actually picked out like a pretty, it's called Dignity Blue. I want a very, very vibrant blue on this piece. Now, we're not going to be doing any special techniques with this tutorial. This is basically a 101 tutorial to teach, you know, the basics of painting like you've never painted before. I'll be taking the Sherwin-Williams because this is a blue that I really, really love. It's nice and vibrant, and it's already pre-mixed. I use these cute little bottles when I make my own paints. They're great little ketchup, mustard, condiment containers. You can get them online. Actually, I'll throw a link where to find these in the product guide for you all, so you know where to get these out. Sherwin-Williams is probably going to be my go-to paints most of the time if I'm making my own paint, mainly because of the cost of it. At Sherwin-Williams, these are their samples versus regular size samples. So these, when you have the 30% off sale, these are about $5 a piece. So you really can't get any cheaper than that. And I'm all about saving money. So you'll see in my tutorials that this is really my go-to paint a lot of the times. But like I said, I'm not a paint snob. If I see a color, I love this duck egg blue color here. It's one of my favorites. And then CC makes this coral. Actually, I believe this color has been discontinued. But anyways, this is like a fantastic coral. I've not been able to get that match that comes out that great. So these are some of my personal go-to products. So when picking paint, obviously you want to pick for the project. Obviously picking for the price is very, very important as well. But you really want to look at your piece. All of these paints are going to achieve the same results because the reality is after you paint, you're going to be sealing the piece anyways. So all of these are going to accomplish the same thing. It's just a matter of how you get there. Some of them are easier to use than others. Some require a little bit more work. But for the most part, if you're just starting out, I would look for a pre-mixed color that you really like and then venture out from there once you figure out what you like and what you don't like. There's so many brands on the market. You have everything from Annie Sloan, YSL, Dixie Belle, CC Caldwell, Fusion Paints. The list goes on and on and on. All are fantastic products and have their place when it comes to painting furniture. So pick for you. Like again, if you're just starting out, I would definitely go with a pre-mixed paint in a color of your choice until you get more familiar with working with colors and mixing and matching. I'm not afraid to take, 2 or 3 different colors and mix them together. I also want to clarify something. A big misconception with paints that you find at Home Depot, Lowe's, Sherwin-Williams, Benjamin Moore, any of those. A lot of people are like, oh, they're latex paints. There's actually no latex in them. They're acrylic-based paints, which are the same thing that you're going to get from Decor Art and some of the brands. You have little tiny bottles of paint. Those are all acrylic-based paints. Household paints that are meant for painting walls, they're actually not latex-based paints at all. The term latex comes from, it is what they use to create the acrylic base, and it creates a plastic-like coating. So if you've ever painted your walls and you have the paint tray, especially if you use a plastic one, and it dries overnight and you can kind of peel the paint up from it, paint companies will add those, they're basically like sticking agents, drying agents. They add those into the paint to create durability, number one, because they go on a wall, the ability to dry and cure, etc. Now, the higher the sheen of paint, so you start at the bottom here and you have a flat and then eggshell, satin, semi-gloss, and then gloss. You really want to keep at the bottom of the spectrum. You really want to keep at the flat, the eggshells, and the satin. Anything over that, it's not a flexible paint at that point. You're not going to be able to distress it very easily. I have noticed though a trend in the furniture painting world of really high gloss pieces. That's a completely different, that is not taking a high gloss latex paint from Home Depot and painting a piece with it. There's actually quite a few steps that go into painting a piece like that. So I would keep at the bottom, the softer the sheen, the flat, the less sticking agents, the less shine agents, the less filler agents are going to be in those products. Because to be able to get that shine, you've got to add more chemicals to them. So you definitely want to keep at the bottom of the spectrum if you're doing your DIY type paints. You can get on Pinterest. There's all kinds of make your own chalk paints and on there. So whatever, find what works for you. Find what works for your piece. Look at your piece first. Go from there, and then see what works for you. And if you're just starting out, I would highly recommend going with a pre-mixed paint to get your feet wet and then kind of graduate from there. So with that said, I'm excited to get painting. I'm excited to teach you all, how to paint and get this piece looking much better. It's really super ugly. So anyways, so let's get to painting.